the Walther PDP SD Pro. Now, the PDP SD Pro from Walther is to the regular PDP what the Ram TRX is to the Ram 1500. You take the base model truck, you give it some goodies, you beef it up a little bit, and then you get this, the Walther PDP SD Pro. So essentially what they did is they took that PDP and they gave it a threaded barrel. Of course, you still have your optics ready plate, but then they gave it this performance trigger, and then along you have this mag well, and then you have the base plate for the magazine, and then you have this elevated ergonomic system. And calling it an ergonomic system is kind of stretching it a little bit. They just kind of made the ergonomics on this gun a little better. Okay, a lot better. But before we get into the ergonomics, I want to talk about the way it looks, because that was the first thing I noticed about this gun. I like this whole concept of me falling in love with FDE when it's contrasted against black is continuing. And when Walther sent me this gun, that was the first thing I noticed, was like, I really love the proportions and the way that this gun looks, especially with the FDE, the contrast black on this back panel and this black slide. It's just such a beautiful color combo. But even better than that, because I saw a picture of it, was the gray version. So they have a gray version of this that is just, I absolutely love it. This is a very aesthetically pleasing gun to me. I love the proportions on the gun, especially with the 4.6-inch barrel. It just feels right to me. So as far as the way this gun looks off the top right now, that alone makes me kind of want it. If I just never felt it and I just saw it at a gun store, this would definitely catch my eye. Now let's talk about that ergonomics. So the PDP, I raved about it having exceptionally good ergonomics. And this is no different. Actually, I'm lying, it is different, because the ergonomics on this are a lot better in here, and I'm explaining why. So what I'm noticing is, if you look at here, Walthers, generally speaking, visually, always have a very visually aggressive ergonomic system. So you have this huge slant right here, and then this like nice hump that comes around here, and then you got this nice cut under the beaver tail, and then of course you got this is a little bit more straighter than normal, but if you notice here at the bottom, it kind of just bends ever so slightly. So essentially what it does is it creates almost like a fulcrum effect in your hand, especially now that you have this exaggerated mag well, and I'll show you how. So once I get in here and I get underneath the beaver tail, so to speak, it's not really a beaver tail, but you get the point. And once I have this grip, this hump right here, my hand slides into here, and this hump is basically leveraging against this part of my palm. So once I do that, and then I get my other hand up here, everything starts working, because now this finger here is leveraged against this mag well, my palm is leveraged against this hump, and then when I get the second hand on the gun, what the recoil wants to do, the gun wants to jump, but what happens is that recoil causes the gun to want to jump into my palm, if that makes any sense. So here, I'll show you it this way.
Before you finish watching this video, a word from our sponsor. Have you ever thought about making a living in the firearms industry? If you enjoy gun repair, ballistics, and learning about firearms, Sonoran Desert Institute's online courses might just be a good fit for you. To find out more, visit sdi.edu or call 480-999-4767 today. Used in this video was brought to you by Nosler, maker of the most innovative, most accurate, and most effective bullets and ammunition in the industry.
So if I'm gonna shoot, it's gonna wanna recoil, but because I have this hump here, and then I have this beautifully large cavity here under the beaver tail, whatever you wanna call it, it causes the gun to it makes it a lot easier for me to keep the gun and the muzzle of the gun down. So I'll go shoot left-handed, and you'll kind of see the effect, if you can. And I really like that. Not to mention the actual texture on the PDP is more aggressive, on this PDP SD Pro is more aggressive than it is on the original PDP. It's a little bit more aggressive, and you have the little finger humps, if you can see them. There's some finger grooves here. They're ever so slight, but they're more prominent than the older one. So you add all that together, and this gun just feels really, really good in hand for me shooting it the very first time. Because sometimes with guns, you kind of have to get used to the ergonomics, but not this. This feels good. Now let's talk about the biggest difference on the PDP SD Pro, which would be the performance trigger. Now, Walther's already doing an exceptional job on triggers as is. So the regular PDP had a very good trigger. So the fact that they felt the need to go and throw this performance trigger on here, they just kind of showing off at this point, because this trigger, from what I felt, is really, really good. All right, so as you can see, you kind of have this flat face trigger, and then you have the actual trigger bar here, which is skeletonized, and I'm assuming it's just for looks because it's basically just a trigger bar. But I like it. I like the look. It kind of has a subtle flair to it that I'm really appreciative of. But this trigger does exactly what I like my triggers to do. As we all know, if you've been watching me for a while, as you can see here, I have a nice take up. This take up is so damn smooth. It's stupid. Take up, I got a nice definable wall, break, and then my reset right there. I really didn't even have time to let it out slowly. So you have a take up, break, and then reset. Jeez, that reset is short. Walther's triggers are just bar none the best on the market. I think the only one that can get close to it is probably Canic or Canic, or whatever, however you say that name. But I'm telling you, this trigger, yeesh. Now, from a shooting standpoint, when you bring all that together, you got the ergonomics, then you got this beautiful trigger. It all kind of gets let down by these goofy sights. These sights are goofy. I mean, the rears are adjustable, so there's that, but they're really small. And then this has an optics plate, so you can mount an optic to it. The problem is, if you do that, then you lose the ability to use the sights in the first place. But you can easily replace them with Glock sights, and I think I know why they did that, and I'll get to that at the end. I just want to stick to the shooting aspect of this right now. So when everything kind of comes together, even with these kind of wonky little sights, it allows me to really, really, really control what the gun does. So especially with this trigger, when you want to go slow.
Now, before you finish watching this video, I want to quickly talk about the hearing protection that I'm wearing in this video. These are the AKT1 Blackout Wireless In-Ear Hearing Protection with Bluetooth. I like to call them the AirPods for shooters. I say for shooters because AirPods don't protect your hearing, but these do. They are hands down my favorite in-ear hearing protection that I've ever used, and I mean ever. They have an NR 25 dB auto noise blocking. They can enhance your hearing by 6 times. They have advanced noise cancellation, Bluetooth connectivity with high fidelity speakers so you can take phone calls and listen to music. They have a battery life of 10 hours with an additional 30 hours in a charging case, and they're low profile and stylish enough to fit in not only at the gun range, but in your gym, while you're studying, working, at school, at home, you name it. I'm in love with these things, and now they're finally available on my store at shop.mrcolionnoir.com, or you can just click the link in the description section of this video.
And you want to go precise, you can go slow and precise, and then if you want, you come here and you could just start dumping. Now, you could honestly say, well, most triggers do that, but it's the ease at which it lets you do it and how naturally it lets you do it, because sometimes triggers make you work for going from speed to precision, so forth and so on. A lot of that is based on the character of the trigger. So if I want to come here, here, and then slow down, get my target, take my time, here, and then and because this gun shoots so flat, it just makes doing that incredibly easy. And then I can come here and just walk it. This gun, for my first time shooting it, I gotta say, I'd like the PDP, and I like the PDP regular compact, but I wouldn't even bother with those. I wouldn't bother with those. And the reason why I wouldn't bother with those is because of the price. So right now, street prices, PDP SD Pro is looking at about $799, right? Whereas the regular PDPs are somewhere in the 6s. And so the question remains, so what do you get from that? All right, so like I kind of briefly mentioned at the beginning of the video, let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So you get this mag well, and the mag well can kind of seem unnecessary to some people, or it could just be a aesthetic thing, because I do like the way the mag well looks on this gun, which is weird because I don't always like the way mag wells look on certain guns. This gun, I really like it. I think it fits well with the gun. I think it works within the parameters of the proportions of the gun. But of course, it allows you to load the gun a lot faster. And then especially with these steel magazines, you get 18 rounds in the gun. So you get 18 plus 1. For a gun this size, yeah, that's a lot of firepower. And then on top of that, you have this cutout right here in the mag well, which allows you to strip it. Makes it a lot easier to strip it, because otherwise, if you had to strip the gun, if you have to strip the mag out of the gun, you're gonna find yourself not really getting a lot of leverage. Then on top of that, like I talked about, you get this enhanced ergonomic system where the grip is a little bit more grippy, and then the finger grooves are exaggerated, more exaggerated than the PDP originally, but not so much so that for people who don't like finger grooves, it's gonna be a bother to them. It's just subtle enough, but just aggressive enough. Then on top of that, of course, you have your threaded barrel. And I can think of a whole bunch of things you can do with that, really too. You can put a suppressor on it, or you can put a comp on it. And I see one of these bad boys with the comp on it, and I gotta say, it looks damn good. And considering how well this gun already shoots, oof, that's just gonna be nasty. And I think when I do the follow-up video on that, I'll definitely put its comp on here and then really get a feel for how this thing shoots. It has this big magazine release, not magazine release, this big slide lock or slide release, which is on the PDP as well, but I've always been a big fan of slide blocks, large slide locks, largely because it allows me to really get to it. Now, speaking of that, I want to talk about also the ability to drop the mag on this gun. So I don't have big hands, you know, I got them little hobbit hands, right? But I don't have to really break my grip when I want to reload. So if I want to drop the mag, I can literally do it just like that. So you can't really do that with guns. Most of the time, you're gonna have to break your grip, flip the gun over, start doing all this freaking John Woo shit. John Woo? Wow, where did I get John Woo from?
John Woo movies?
Wow. We've got something in common.
Everything else is really PDP, except elevated and better. So I wouldn't even bother with the regular one, if I'm just gonna be honest. Just keep in mind, this is my first time shooting this. But from what I'm feeling right now, if I had to go to a gun store knowing what I know right now, I wouldn't bother with the regular one. I would just pony up the extra money to get this as of right now. That could change when I do the follow-up, but right now I think as far as ergonomics, as far as it looks, I like it. I like it. It just gives it this extra flair with the threaded barrel, with this mag well. It's just everything kind of comes together in a really good package with this PDP Pro. This is for somebody who's looking for a do-everything gun. This is probably a really perfect do-everything gun for people who are diehard Walther fans. And I think this is probably the best, and this is crazy. I think this is the best PDP that Walther has made. Better than the full size, better than the regular, better. I'm gonna say it, it's gonna sound weird, even the steel frame version. The way it's set up now makes the gun very versatile. Like, some people have complained about the fact that it has a plastic guide rod. Well, I don't want to put a metal guide rod in it because I don't want to add weight to it, because this gun is rather light. It still has everything you need as far as, I love the slide cuts on here because they're so deep and so graspable. I don't even know if that's a word. But this could be the perfect all-around gun. From the standpoint that it's small enough to conceal carry, it's big enough to feel confident to have it as your bedside gun. You have all the options you need. You can put a red dot on it if you need to. You have a threaded barrel if you wanted to suppress it or put a comp on it. You have a mag well, which allows you to reload faster, but in the event that you maybe do want to shoot competition, you could technically do it. You may struggle a little bit because it's a shorter slide. And then you also have this beautiful trigger. So it's a kind of a no thinking gun. There's nothing I want to change on this gun except for the sights. And going back to that from what I said before, the reason why I think they put these little wonky sights on here is because this would have added another $100 to it if they would have put, I don't know, some suppressor height sights, right? So then now the gun's sitting at $900 instead of $800 or $799. So whereas I can go online, I can find my own sights, because sights tend to be very subjective. So me personally, I'll probably go with some Trigicon suppressor height sights. And those are like 160. For the most part, I think they did that to keep the cost down so that you get a lot of bang for your buck at that $799 price point. So the Walther PDP SD Pro, my first mag, and I can't wait to do the follow-up on this so I can put a red dot on here, put a comp on here, put a light on here, and then just see really what we can get out of this gun. I love this color, but I want the gray one. I do want the gray one.
Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.